Hi there, Trendmovers here. Today we're visiting not the Waffle cafe, which is known for a friendly service and their famous taiyaki ice cream. Let's go inside. As a customer, you see smiling staff ready to welcome you here and create a unique experience. But how does it look like on the other side? Like in most service industries, smiling actually becomes a task. And employees are often forced to show genuine feelings even if they don't feel like it. This phenomenon is actually known as emotional labor.
Emotional labor is the process of managing one's emotions, both internally, how you feel, and externally, how you express yourself. Now, while you're working, you're not just doing all the practical labor. You don't just exist in a bubble by yourself. There's always going to be a social component to your labor, and part of that social component is very much emotional. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that your emotions are all tied up in other people's business. You very much do have agency over your own emotions. However, they are very much influenced by both cultural and societal norms. These norms define what we consider correct, polite, professional in our society. And so, it's no wonder then that employees often find that they're adjusting, suppressing, or amplifying their emotions in order to fit the job. And that sometimes comes at the cost of not truly feeling the way that they act. Right here, you can see emotional labor being part of a wide range of industries or daily life. In service jobs like restaurants or retail, staff is expected to be cheerful, patient, and polite. In healthcare, expectations are even higher. Employees should demonstrate compassion and sympathy while being in stressful or dangerous settings. Leaders and managers need to inspire others through projecting confidence and staying composed, and uplifting their team. And of course, it's not just limited to job sites. In everyday life, like, for example, taking care of your family, that often means staying positive for others, comforting them, and dealing with household conflicts.
Customers don't just come for the product itself, they come for experience. They enjoy interacting with smiling employees, and as the face of the business, maintaining a pleasant attitude becomes part of the job with a mission to build satisfaction and loyalty. The friendlier the employee seems, the more satisfied the customer, and the better the business performs. Ali Russell Hochschild argued in her book, The Managed Heart, Commercializations of Human Feelings. Companies have commercialized employees' feelings but require them to display emotions as part of their work duties.
Emotional labor comes with many risks, especially when the worker depends on surface acting, which is showing their emotions that are not truly genuine, in the workplace. Over time, this gap between real feelings and outward expressions creates emotional dissonance, a state where workers start to feel inauthentic or disconnected from their true personality. This continuous tension can develop into deeper psychological distress, which affects the well-being of employees. Fast forward, the emotional exhaustion builds up. The person starts to feel drained and empty. The final stage of this is depersonalization, where the employee starts to detach themselves from the job and the people that they serve. Altogether, these unmanaged consequences can seriously impact both the mental health and job satisfaction of an employee.
Emotional labor has significant consequences for organizational performance. When employees are burnt out, their ability to stay engaged and motivated decreases. This leads to lower productivity, reduced quality of service, and more mistakes. Additionally, workers engage in absenteeism, a habit of skipping duties from work without good reason. Some employees go as far as they quit, resulting in high turnover for the organizations.
During the interview, we asked the owner what's the most challenging moment at work which involves emotional labor. His reply was, the most emotionally challenging situation are when customers are upset or dissatisfied. It can be tough to stay calm and positive while handling complaints, especially if the customer is impatient or rude. However, I try to listen carefully, stay respectful, and find a solution to make things right. It is important to not take things personally and remember that good service can turn a negative experience into a positive one, which, once again, confirming that emotional labor causes stress and cannot go by unrecognized.
Customers aren't the only part of emotional labor challenge that employees at Waffle have to face every day. So in addition to The difficult customer that has to fight multiple layers of emotional demands. So first there is service acting fatigue. This is when employees have to pretend to smile, to stay cheerful and remain friendly even if they feel stressed or tired. So doing this constantly will drain their energy and over time lead to emotional burnout, which connects the issues of exhaustion and dissatisfaction shown earlier in our report. And secondly, there's lack of emotional training. So employees mentioned that mostly they have to learn through observations to receive the structured support. So this means that when a truly tense or emotional situation happens, they aren't fully prepared or confident about how to respond. And also another big factor is that they lower psychological safety. Staff don't feel comfortable openly talking about emotionally struggle because it might seem unprofessional or like they cannot handle the job. So instead, they keep everything inside, which make the emotional load even heavier. And finally, the shop relies on informal coping strategy. So employers use humor or quick break or non-verbal cues like smiling to stay positive. So these strategies will help them in the short term, but they cannot solve the underlying stress and aren't enough for long-term well-being.
Now you might be thinking, we get it. Emotional labor is a big issue. Now what can we do about it? Well, we've come up with a couple ideas and a couple problem-solving ideas that will help the company fix these potential issues. For starters, starting off with formal training. This is training staff in nonverbal awareness, as well as implementing it through teaching recognition of facial expressions when dealing with a difficult situation, as well as mirror techniques, which helps the employee learn by watching other people. Another problem-solving technique that we recommend would be onboard training. They should introduce the emotional intelligence model, which consists and regulates the self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. This helps employees regulate their emotions in stressful situations and in peak rushes. Managers should also practice active listening, checking in on the employees when they seem down or stressed. The employees tend to avoid talking about feelings because they don't want to bring down the company morale, which means psychological safety could potentially be low. They also want to encourage open conversations about stress and emotions so employees don't feel suppressed. Since workers tend to deal with difficult customers, the shop should create training modules how to deal with this. The modules could include dealing with customers that are impatient, with dealing with customers that have wrong orders, cold waffles, or even long wait times. This reduces the stress, improves consistency and efficiency for the employees, and gives the staff that are dealing with these situations the confidence to deal with it. They also should add shift and debriefs so that the employee feels confident enough to talk to the employer and talk to the managers about what they're facing. This should be stressed and definitely implemented within the first 2 weeks of employment.
So one important strategy is implementing a communications and conflict handling workshops. The interview clearly shows that employees find that the impatience or rude customer are the most challenging emotional pressure for the staff. So training directly targeted at this interaction would make a meaningful difference. And this workshop would teach the employee how to step into the empathetic mindset instead of reacting emotionally. For example, using some symbol scripts such as I understand how that could be frustrating, but let's fix it together. And this approach could help to reduce the tensions and make the customer feel valued, which match the positive service culture not a Waffle want to maintain. And beyond workshop, the company should also focus on hiring and screening for communication skills, since the role requires constant interactions and emotional control. Selecting people who naturally can handle the stress and communication well will reduce the emotional labor problems in the long run. Finally, the manager needs to model a proper complaint handling behavior. So when employee sees the leader calmly resolve the issues, use empathetic language, and de-escalate the conflict or tension, they can learn those skills much faster. This also increase the psychological safety because the staff feel support rather than judged.
It appears that employees become exhausted with surface acting when having to put on a smile, etc. And some ways that this could be improved is to foster an environment where they connect with the work at hand and the employee goes from surface acting to deep level acting. This will help employees or even management to reduce fatigue and create a healthier, more fluent and flowing environment. They should promote deep acting and genuine emotional engagement while offering emotional support training to help the employees manage emotional demands such as surface and deep acting. At Not a Waffle can teach emotional regulation skills, encourage meaningful team culture, and normalize asking for help when needed. This shifts the environment from fake a smile to feel supported enough to be genuine.
Emotional labor is often powerful but invincible part of a service industry. We took an interview from Not a Waffle employees, and they actually admitted that they often use emotional effort to create a positive experience for the customers. However, it is gonna have a lot of consequences for them. For example, emotional burnout, exhaustion, and stress. If left unmanaged, it will actually worsen the situation for the cafe, and the workers will not perform as good as they do right now. To fix this, they can actually implement emotional intelligence training and create a more welcoming and less stressful environment, and create a sense of psychological safety for their employees where they can express themselves and not afraid to be sad or unwelcomed. And this will actually boost their productivity and create a good environment both for employees and the workers, the employees and the customers.